The sixth key area was the strategies to attract investment and facilities job creation. I don't know if people in the room know that 60% of our working population across the Shire has to leave the municipality every day. So if you're looking for a job, there's a good chance that you have to leave the municipality every day. Now, we're having this debate at an interface meeting this morning. One of the scary things, to put a better picture on the impact of this, is at the moment between Casey and Cardinia, there's around about 330,000 people. When I come to work at about 7:30 in the morning, I don't get paid overtime, so don't ask me. Now backed up to Berwick. I'm coming this way and they're going that way. And they're now backed up to Berwick at 7:30 in the morning. We've got to overlay another 300,000 people on top of that, because when we're fully developed, Casey Cardinia will be about 650,000 people. So what's going to happen when we're fully developed and the Monash Freeway's choked? It'll be choked back to basically Pakenham. So local employment is really, really critical in this whole dynamic of what we're trying to create here. And for those families who have to get up early in the morning and leave, it's the social disconnection, getting up at 5:30, 6, 7:30, leaving home, getting home in the dark like you are at the moment. What's your relationship with your wife? What's your relationship with your family? It starts to disconnect in a way that sometimes can have fairly significant consequences. So this notion of work creating jobs close to home is more than ever important. And there's also a cost, not only the social cost, but the financial cost. And it's about $11,000 to $12,000 a year for families. But what it forces families to do, and we've got a little bit of inside knowledge to this, that $1 goes on the mortgage, their spend $1 goes on food, and their spend $1 goes on buying 2 cars. And that's where essentially their money goes. We're working with the Monash University to bring this picture closer to home, and that will be finished towards the end. It'll be finished in November, and we'll start to be able to press governments to really start addressing this issue. So what are we doing? Well, as people may or may not know, we've got 2,500 hectares of what we call employment corridor, south of the bypass, basically from Koorup Road to Cardinia Creek. And you might see the power lines in the distance, down to there approximately. 2,500 hectares, and we've got to create about 75,000 jobs. I'm pleased to say tonight we actually got the final link across the line in terms of taking the next step forward to creating what we call the Cardinia Road Employment Precinct. So when you go at the end of Cardinia Road, the other side, from Tumut Creek to Gumscrub Creek down to the power lines, will be the first of our employment corridors created. And we hope to have approval for that by the end of September, early October from the Minister. Now this is quite a unique development. It's the first of its kind in Victoria. We're actually creating some residential, retail, quality industrial and also office. One of the things we're bereft of is office white-collar jobs in Cardinia. If you're a professional, you essentially have to leave the municipality every day. If you work in a service industry, you have to leave the municipality every day. So we've got to have a strong emphasis of how we change that dynamic. How do we get more office jobs? How do we get more service industry jobs? And this is the jewel in the crown that we're trying to create, which will establish all that into the future. Now the creation of this is a 10 or 15, overall it's about 25 years, but Cardinia Road is a 10 or 15 year program. It's about 600 hectares, so it's a lot of land to be developed. We're just at the threshold, I think, in a couple of months to be able to get the planning of this so we can get jobs, so people can stay within the municipality. They don't have to leave the municipality every day. The other one we'll work on straight away after that's been approved is Pakenham South, and that's where South East Business Park is at the moment. We're about 80% complete there, and that'll be finished by June next year. Just going back to CREP, we think there will be about 18,000 jobs created there. That's our target, 18,000 jobs. You'll be able to cycle, you'll be able to walk, there'll be buses, so you can leave your cars at home if you live in the urban growth corridor, which we want to try and encourage to keep our greenhouse gas emissions down. One of the new, just a stat I hadn't really focused on before, but we've got 16,000 registered businesses in Cardinia. Now, not all of those create employment. There might be one company with a lot of sub-companies underneath it. On average, there's 1,500 new businesses every year registered. We get this information from the tax office. 1,500 businesses every year, and that works out at about 4.3 per day, which is, and the only problem I have with this stat is I can't work out what type of employment this is creating, but it's an interesting statistic. What we can draw from it is that construction industry employment is increasing by about 10% a year still, even during this growth. What's more important is white-collar jobs are growing at about 10%, awful low base, and that's in property and business services, communication services, health and community sector. So we're starting to see a growth in that white-collar job employment opportunity that I talked about. Over the last 4 years, particularly in Pakenham, we've seen down the Bald Hill Road a lot of industrial development. Over the last 4 years, there's been about 360 new lots established for new businesses, and a lot of those have been taken up fairly quickly. As I said, I was at a meeting this morning, we call it the Interface Group, and that's where most of the growth area councils, plus a few others, meet on a monthly basis. One of the voids we have at the moment in terms of a policy, both at the state and federal election, is there's no incentive for business to be attracted to come to Cardinia, to Melton, to Whittlesea, to Hume, and now the new area of Mitchell. So what we're looking at is working either partnering with the state government to develop a policy which enables creating a business in Pakenham, or in the employment corridor I should say, because it straddles a fair sparse of land, giving business an incentive to come and establish here. Now, there's no policy around that, and we're going to be working on that with the state government. We're meeting with DIRD in a few weeks to talk about what they're doing. If they're not going to do anything, we will actually start driving a policy position to talk to both the state and federal governments. Who's ever in power, doesn't matter, but we do need a policy around enabling, giving incentives for business to come to places like Cardinia to establish. Otherwise, we're competing with metropolitan Melbourne, and it's a tough market to compete in. So that's something we've been working on. We are commencing to work on.